Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. Let's talk about the myths that we need in order to survive. Isn't that an interesting phrase that's going around? I saw an IQ squared debate on the subject. It's a phrase, if you think about that phrase, it's a phrase straight out of fascist ideology. It's something that Goebbels himself would have said, and probably did say. The myths that we need in order to survive. Now, the Nazis did refer to science as the sting of materialism because they were very, very mystical. And they did not like having objective reality that they had to deal with. And so the fact that their Panzer tanks had to be made in a scientific way was irritating. And they did talk about that fact, and we have record of these their discussions about the fact that science was an irritating sting in their hide. They believed that myth was the thing to guide Germany, to guide the people. Now, who could believe such a thing? Who could believe such an insidious thing? And yet, Dr. Jordan Peterson puts it this way. He says that he does not agree with Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins, that if we could do away with belief and myth, that everybody would come to be a Richard Dawkins and or a Sam Harris. Now, is that the dilemma? Is that the dilemma, that if we do away with faith, we won't necessarily end up with a whole bunch of Sam Harrises and Richard Dawkinses? Now, let me point out that Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins would like there to be a system in place, a culture, which does produce Sam Harrises and Richard Dawkinses. There's nothing magical about those guys. They're just reasonable. And neither of them have ever said anything that went over my head by one iota. So there's nothing magical about them, and we could produce a culture that produces people like that just as a way. Why can't we right now? The government schools. We have done away with faith, but we're teaching the kids in schools nothing but altruism and collectivism. And they're coming out of the schools terrible, terrible. And I saw this 20 years ago, and I wrote a poem about it called Colleges and Universities 15 years ago. And it's just getting, now, back when I wrote that poem and I dropped out of school, I would tell people, I said, dropped out of college, terrible over there, lots of socialists and Marxists. And people look at me and they go, what? What are you talking about? The colleges? Full of Marxists? What are you talking about? And they don't even know what Marxism is. They didn't care. But more people are waking up to it. More people are realizing how bad it is and what's going on. And more people are studying these ideas and finding out what these ideas are and becoming interested. And that's the only path we have forward, ladies and gentlemen, is to learn about these things and know them, to gain knowledge. That's the only path we have forward. We have the internet. We're up against left-tard censors everywhere. But if they can lose and we can win, then we'll be okay. And the challenge for us is to spread knowledge, not to bring back some sort of barriers to knowledge, which is what myths are. When you set up a myth, you don't have to study this or that or the other. You can just indulge in this belief and just believe it. And so we have to fight against that. And surrendering and going and hunting through all these old myths and seeing if we can find anything of use is just strange and bizarre. Now, I'm not against reading the Bible or old literature or philosophy or poetry or religious texts. We can read religious texts. The Bible has a true line in it. It says in Acts 17, I believe 24, it says, God dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as though he needed anything, but seeing that he is Lord of all heaven and all earth, etc. God dwelleth not in temples made with hands. That's true, and that's in the Bible. We can read the Bible and we can get some true things out of it. God dwelleth nowhere, but he also dwelleth not in temples made with hands. And it says so right in the fucking Bible. If you people couldn't get over your fucking temples and churches that you build out of ivory and gold already, go read your Bible. What are those churches for, you idol-worshipping bastards? Anyways, I'm over that. Okay, I think I've said what I need to say. What did I start this video on now? I can't now. I got all upset about religion. I should always keep a note right in front of me of the video that I'm doing so that I can focus and remember what I'm trying to say. Yeah, the left. Every video I do is about the left and Islam now, isn't it? Let's assume that I've made my point, and if I haven't, I'll have to do another video and go over the additional points. Thanks for watching.